Colonel Reagan stared at the empty medical bay bed, the disconnected monitors dangling uselessly above rumpled sheets. Alarms still blared throughout the ship, security teams racing through corridors that Holt had already navigated and abandoned. They were too late. They had been too late, the moment they'd let their guard down. "How long?" Commander Sutton demanded, his quantum spurs leaving precise blue trails as he paced the room, a stark contrast to the chaotic crimson streaks that had marked Holt's departure 6 hours earlier. "Unknown," Reagan admitted. "The night medical staff last confirmed visual at 200 hours. Security discovered him missing at 6:30. And the shuttle bay breach? Confirmed. 1 tactical scout vessel missing, transponder disabled." Sutton's face hardened. He disabled a night vessel's tracking systems? "That's not possible without command codes," Reagan finished. "Yes, sir. Yet he did it anyway." Medical Director Musk approached with Holt's abandoned data tablet. "You need to see this, Commander." The screen displayed what appeared to be a title page, elegantly formatted with military precision. "They who feast on blood, the complete registry of the fallen Camp Tolek. Cygnus 4 35,624. Souls below." The title was a message, its simplicity somehow more chilling than any lengthy manifesto. "I will finish what the Knights cannot. Elijah Holt. Knight no more." "Open the file," Sutton ordered. Musk's finger hesitated above the screen. "Sir, I've already reviewed the first few entries. It's disturbing." "Open it." The document expanded to reveal thousands of meticulously organized entries. Names, ranks, service numbers, causes of death recorded with clinical precision yet unmistakable fury embedded in every word. The most horrific deaths were highlighted in red: ceremonial feedings, live dissections, breeding experiments, blood replacements. Beside many entries were the names of specific brief officers or scientists responsible. "My God," Sutton whispered, his professional composure cracking as he scrolled through the endless catalog of atrocities. "He documented all of them?" "Every single one," Reagan confirmed. 35,624 deaths, memorized during 6 months of captivity. The man sat there in that cell watching our people die and committed each name to memory. "That's not possible," Musk interjected, "even with eidetic memory." "Maybe he's obsessed," Reagan offered. "Maybe he's insane. Or maybe witnessing that level of horror changes a man in ways we can't understand." He gestured to the tablet. "Read entry number 27,493. Sutton scrolled down, finding the entry. Lieutenant Marissa Matterhorn, 309th Medical Corps. Day 159. Selected for demonstration of circulatory replacement therapy. Subject remained conscious during sequential removal and replacement of 82% of blood volume with brief hemolymph. Death occurred after 7 hours, 42 minutes. Procedure presided over by High Priest Kavar. Subject's final words: "Tell my daughter I love her." He recorded their last words, Sutton said quietly. "When he could," Reagan confirmed. "He told me he was often forced to watch the procedures up close, said the brief wanted him to see what would eventually happen to him." Special Investigator Eckert, who had been examining the room's security systems, approached with another tablet. "We have the lab footage from yesterday's demonstration." The screen displayed Holt standing before the Night Command delegation. On a sterile examination table lay brief tissue samples. Skin, blood, internal organs, salvaged from the battlefield. With methodical precision, Holt had demonstrated his theories. Silver causing catastrophic cellular breakdown on contact, certain plant compounds triggering allergic reaction. "The most concerning part comes next," Eckert said, forwarding the recording. Holt's voice emanated from the tablet, unnervingly calm. "Night Command has always focused on the brief as an enemy combatant species to be defeated through conventional warfare. This is fundamental miscalculation. They are not soldiers. They are not even aliens in the traditional sense. They are vampires, creatures of nightmare that feed on sentient beings, that derive pleasure from suffering, that conduct blood rituals older than their recorded history. The camera showed Commander Sutton's skeptical expression. Major, these claims require substantiation beyond. I've substantiated them with 6 months of direct observation, Holt interrupted, his red quantum spurs flaring. I've watched their high priests consume the life essence of prisoners during eclipse ceremonies. I've documented their hibernation cycles corresponding to lunar phases. I've observed their ritual scarification that matches pre-space flight vampire iconography from a dozen Earth cultures. He held up a silver bullet, turning it so it caught the light. This isn't fringe theory, Commander. This is existential threat assessment. The brief aren't fighting for territory or resources or political dominance. They're fighting for food, for worship, for the spread of their blood religion across human space. In the recording, Holt leaned forward, his eyes reflecting the crimson glow of his spurs. Knight Command can continue fighting this like a conventional war if you wish, but I've seen the truth, and I'm going to exterminate them like the monsters they are. Reagan muted the recording. After that, we agreed to continue discussions this morning. Obviously, Major Holt had other plans. He's gone rogue with experimental weapons, stolen Knight technology, and a personal vendetta, Sutton summarized grimly. This is unprecedented. With respect, Commander, Reagan said, everything about Elijah Holt is unprecedented now. You saw his spurs. No Knight in recorded history has ever manifested red quantum energies. And his combat effectiveness at the research facility, Musk added quietly. 600 confirmed kills as a single operator, without his armor, while critically injured. Our medical scans showed he had multiple broken ribs, internal bleeding, and severe malnutrition during that rampage. Sutton's expression darkened further. How is that physically possible? It isn't, Musk said simply. Not by any medical standard, I understand. He should have collapsed after the first dozen kills. Instead, he systematically eliminated every brief in that facility while operating at what should have been lethal injury levels. The code exists for a reason, Sutton said, his voice tight with controlled concern. A Knight with Holt's training, experience, and technology, operating without restraint, without oversight, is exactly what the brief deserve, Reagan finished, unable to contain himself. A tense silence fell across the medical bay. You sympathize with him, Sutton observed. I watched the recordings from Talek, Reagan said. I saw the aftermath of what they did to our people. If Holt's silver bullets and old legends can end this war faster than conventional tactics, I won't lose sleep over Knight protocols being violated. This isn't about protocols, Sutton countered. This is about unleashing something we don't understand. You didn't just see his spurs, Colonel. You felt them. That wasn't standard quantum technology anymore. Reagan had no reply. The memory of standing in Holt's crimson glow had left him with nightmares. The sensation of ancient, predatory instincts awakening, of something primal recognizing a superior hunter. In that moment, he had understood on a visceral level why the brief had been so careful to keep Holt restrained during his captivity. Even broken and without his armor, something about the man had changed fundamentally. What are your orders, Commander? Eckert asked, breaking the silence. Sutton straightened. Decision made. Track the stolen vessel. Dispatch a Knight recovery team. Major Holt is to be apprehended and returned to Knight Command for comprehensive evaluation. And if he resists? Musk asked. Sutton's quantum spurs flared blue, controlled, precise, everything Holt's wild crimson energy was not. Then God help whoever stands between Elijah Holt and his prey, because we certainly can't. As Sutton and Eckert left to coordinate the recovery mission, Musk lingered in the medical bay with Reagan. You're not telling them everything, she said quietly after ensuring they were alone. Regan's face remained impassive. I don't know what you mean, Doctor. I've reviewed the medical data from the rescue ship. multiple times. She held up her tablet, displaying Holt's biometric readings. These patterns aren't just anomalous. They're impossible. His cellular regeneration rate increased by 300% after he recovered his armor. The quantum integration with his nervous system shows completely novel energy signatures. Your point? My point, Colonel, is that whatever came back from Talek isn't just Major Holt anymore. Musk lowered her voice further. The blood work we did while he was unconscious. There were traces of brief hemolymph in his system, integrated with his own blood chemistry. Reagan's eyes narrowed. Are you suggesting he's been infected? Turned? I'm suggesting something more complex. The brief were experimenting on him, just as they did with other prisoners, testing the limits of human brief compatibility. And I think they succeeded in ways they didn't anticipate. Holt was already unique. Knights undergo extensive genetic and neural modification during their training. What if the brief experiments triggered something unexpected? A mutation or adaptation that incorporated elements of their biology into his quantum systems. Reagan considered this. His spurs turned red after he killed Crusade, after he'd been exposed to massive amounts of brief blood during his escape. Exactly. Musk glanced at the door to ensure they were still alone. Colonel, I've been researching brief mythology since Holt's demonstration yesterday. Their own legends speak of a crimson hunter who would rise from among their prey species and bring destruction to their kind. You can't be serious. I'm a scientist. I deal in observable phenomena. She handed him a data chip. These are my complete findings on Holt's condition, along with translations of brief mythological texts recovered from their abandoned outposts. Knight Command won't want this information spread, too destabilizing to our understanding of quantum technology. Reagan pocketed the chip. Why give this to me? Because you've seen him up close. You know what he's capable of. Musk's expression hardened, and because if there's even a chance that Holt has become what these texts describe, a predator specifically evolved to hunt the brief, then maybe the most humane course of action is to let him complete his mission. Knight Command won't see it that way. No, she agreed. They'll want to study him, understand him, control him, turn him back into a weapon that follows their code. Reagan's comm unit chimed, signaling he was needed on the bridge. As he turned to leave, Musk caught his arm. One more thing, Colonel. When Holt recited those names in his sleep, his quantum readings spiked with each name, almost as if he was drawing energy from the recitation itself. The implication hung in the air between them, that Holt's litany of the dead wasn't just remembrance, but fuel for whatever he was becoming. The stars blurred outside the tactical scout vessel's viewports as Holt pushed the engines beyond their rated specifications. His damaged armor had been repaired as best he could manage with the ship's limited facilities. The crimson glow of his quantum spurs reflected off the cockpit controls, bathing everything in blood-red light. On the navigation display, a route pulsed steadily, not toward human space or Knight Command outposts, but directly into the heart of brief territory, specifically toward Volkmar Prime, the ancestral homeworld of the species that had shown him the true nature of evil. Night Vessel ZT-109, this is Human Defense Force Outpost Delta 7. You are approaching restricted space without proper clearance. Please identify yourself and state your intentions. Holt ignored the communication. The outpost's weapons couldn't lock onto his vessel at this distance, and he'd be beyond their range in minutes. Knight Command would have already issued alerts about his unauthorized departure, but bureaucracy would slow their response. He had time enough for what needed to be done. The ship's computer chimed, indicating an incoming transmission on a military emergency channel. Holt considered ignoring it, then reluctantly accepted. The screen displayed Colonel Reagan's weathered face. "Major," Reagan greeted him, no surprise evident in his expression. "Colonel," Holt acknowledged. "Knight Command send you to talk me back?" "No. This is a personal call. They don't know I'm contacting you." Holt raised an eyebrow. Risky behavior for a decorated officer. Some risks are worth taking. Reagan's eyes studied him through the screen. "Where you headed?" "You know where." Reagan nodded slowly. "Volkmar Prime, the heart of darkness itself, their breeding world, their temple planet, the source." Holt's spurs pulsed crimson with each word. "I'm going to burn it to the ground, with one ship, one knight." "Even you can't." "I'm not a knight anymore," Holt interrupted. "Knights have codes, limits. I shed those at Talak." Reagan was silent for a moment. "You left quite an impression on Knight Command." "Sutton's dispatching a recovery team. They won't find me." "No, they probably won't." Reagan's expression shifted slightly. "But others might." Word spreading, Holt. About what happened at Talak. About what you did. About what the brief really are. Holt's eyes narrowed. "Meaning?" "Meaning, there are stories circulating throughout the fleet about a knight who killed 600 brief with his bare hands while half dead from torture, about silver bullets and vampire weaknesses, about a man who memorized the names of 35,000 dead. Knight Command will suppress it?" Reagan smiled grimly. "You can't suppress a crusade once it starts. Check your long-range sensors." Bearing 227 Mark 43. Holt frowned, activating the sensor array. 6 small vessels appeared, following his trajectory at maximum speed. "Who are they?" "Combat veterans from across the brief front. Pilots, Marines, Special Forces operatives who've seen firsthand what these creatures really are." Reagan leaned closer to the camera. "You're not alone in this fight, Holt. You've started something when you freed those camps. Something Knight Command can't control." Holt's expression remained impassive, but his quantum spurs flared briefly. "I work alone. Maybe. But there are thousands who want to join your hunt. These 6 are just the vanguard." Sensor data streamed across Holt's display, confirming Reagan's words. The pursuing vessels were military-grade ships with serial numbers that had been wiped from official records. Black Ops craft repurposed for a mission that didn't officially exist, some with experimental weapons arrays that would never pass Defense Force inspection. "They'll get themselves killed," Holt said. "Probably," Reagan agreed. "But they've made their choice, just like you made yours." Holt stared at the sensor readings, something unfamiliar stirring beneath his focused rage. For 6 months, he had recited 35,624 names each night, a private litany of the fallen. The thought that others might be carrying their own lists, nursing similar wounds, seeking the same vengeance. "There's more," Reagan said, interrupting his thoughts. "Musk found something in brief mythology, legends about a crimson hunter who would rise from among their victims." Holt's fingers paused over the controls. "Superstition? Maybe. Or maybe there's a reason your spurs turned red after you killed Grizakt. A reason you were able to kill 600 brief while critically injured and without armor." Reagan's expression was carefully neutral. "The brief experimented on you for 6 months, Holt. Changed you in ways we don't fully understand." "I know what I am," Holt replied, his voice cold. "Do you?" "Because Musk thinks you might be the very thing the brief have feared for centuries. A predator specifically evolved to hunt them." The crimson light from Holt's spurs intensified, casting harsh shadows across his face. "Is that why you're contacting me? Scientific curiosity?" "I'm contacting you because Knight Command will try to bring you in, study you, control you, and because I've seen what the brief do to our people." Reagan's voice hardened. "If you really are what these legends describe, then maybe the most humane thing is to let you finish your hunt. And if I'm just a broken knight with a vendetta, then at least you'll cause enough chaos in brief space to give our conventional forces an opening." Reagan glanced off screen, then back at the camera. "Either way, there are people following you now who believe in your mission, people who've seen the truth about the brief and want to fight them on their own terms. Why are you telling me this?" Reagan's expression softened slightly. "Because even a crusade needs direction, leadership, someone who knows what they're truly facing. I'm not a leader. I'm a hunter. You can be both. Reagan glanced off screen again. I need to go. Night Command is monitoring communications. Just consider what I've said, and this. He transmitted a file, Musk's research on brief mythology and the Crimson Hunter legend, along with her analysis of Holt's biological changes. She thinks the brief accidentally created their own destruction when they experimented on you, Reagan explained. That somehow your night modifications combined with their blood rituals turned you into something new, something designed to hunt them. The transmission ended, leaving Holt alone with the crimson glow of his spurs and the rhythmic pulse of the engine. He opened Musk's file, scanning the translated brief texts. And from among the cattle shall rise the Crimson Hunter, bearing the mark of our own life essence turned against us. Its step shall leave fire in its wake, and our ancient weaknesses shall be known to it. Neither darkness nor distance shall conceal us from its wrath. Holt closed the file. Mythology, superstition, yet he could not deny the changes in himself. The red glow of his spurs where once there was blue, the preternatural strength that had allowed him to fight through injuries that should have been fatal, the constant thirst for brief blood that had awakened in him since killing Grazak. After several minutes of consideration, he adjusted his course slightly and reduced speed by 20%, just enough for those trailing vessels to eventually catch up. Not as allies, not as a team, but perhaps as witnesses, he murmured to himself, fingers drumming on the silver bullets arranged precisely on the console before him. Witnesses to what one hunter, with the right weapons and the right knowledge, could do to monsters that hid in darkness. He would test this, allow 5 of them to join him, the most skilled, the most driven, those with the most personal reasons to hate the brief. The rest would be sent elsewhere, to spread the truth and the methods across the vampire-infested sectors. A loose network of hunters all operating independently but with shared purpose. The thought triggered something in Holt's memory. Ancient Earth stories of vampires slayers working alone yet united by common knowledge, common weapons, common enemies. His quantum spurs flared crimson as he opened the ship's weapons locker. Inside lay his carefully prepared arsenal. Silver-tipped ammunition, concentrated compounds derived from earth plants known for repelling evil, specialized equipment designed to generate artificial ultraviolet radiation. The Night Code had no answers for the brief, but humanity's oldest legends did. Holt closed the locker and returned to the cockpit. On his navigation display, the 6 pursuing vessels adjusted their course to match his. He pressed his hand against his chest, feeling the strange rhythm of his altered heartbeat. The brief had meant to break him, to study him, to feed on him. Instead, they had forged something new, neither fully human nor brief, but a hybrid predator with the skills of a knight and the instincts of an apex hunter. If he truly was the Crimson Hunter of their legends, then so be it. He would become the monster that monsters feared. The hunt was about to begin in earnest. For the 35,624, he whispered, a prayer and a promise and a declaration of war all in one. No mercy. No quarter. No survivors. His quantum spurs pulsed in agreement, bathing the cockpit in blood-red light, as the ship raced toward Volkmar Prime, toward the heart of the vampire empire and its inevitable reckoning. Thank you for listening to this story. I hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to leave this video a like and subscribe if you want to see more stuff like this. Video shares, memberships, and super thanks help the channel grow as well, so feel free to partner with this channel in that way as we grow. With that all said, thank you again for listening to the story, and thank you for your time. On the left side of your screen are some videos I think you might be interested in. I hope to see you in the next one.